Week 2 of the fantasy baseball season. Here's a few hitters I looked at off the wire. Said these hitters either 50% or lower on the fantasy leagues. First hitter, Geraldo Perdomo of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Perdomo so far, he's off to a great start. Last season was a down year where he was injured for half the season as well, where he was an all-star a couple years ago. So last season, 3 homers, 37 RBI, 61 runs scored, 9 stolen bases, a 273 average, and a 344 on base. But so far this year, a homer, 11 RBIs, 5 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, a 344 average, and a 361 on base percentage for Perdomo. So Perdomo, we know he's a good hitter up there at the bat. He's going to be the leadoff hitter now for this Arizona Diamondback team. And this Diamondback team, they're going to put runs on the board early and often this season, I believe, even though they're in a tough division, obviously, in the NL West with the Dodgers and the Padres off to great starts in the early going. Perdomo and this D-back team, I think they could be a team obviously playing for one of those wild card spots. And Perdomo off to a good start so far this season. April 2nd at the Yankees, 0 for 2 in RBI. April 3rd at the Yankees, 1 for 5, a grand slam in that one. April 4th at Washington, 3 for 4, 2 runs, a stolen base. And April 5th at the Nationals, 0 for 3. So Perdomo out there in tons of fantasy leagues at 86%. Shortstop, we know it hasn't been a great position in fantasy baseball for the most part, on and off over the last few seasons. And he's definitely a guy that's getting the everyday opportunity. He's moved into the leadoff spot of late for Arizona's Perdomo. And like I said, he made the All-Star team a couple years ago as well. Definitely a hitter to go out there and add this week. The next hitter, Ivan Herrera of the St. Louis Cardinals. Herrera, he's off to a great start in the early going, and it's only 20 at-bats as well, where last season he hit 5 home runs with a 301 average, and already this year 4 home runs, and obviously 209 less at-bats on the year. Like I said, 8 for 20, 4 home runs, 11 RBIs, 6 runs scored, a 400 average, and a 455 on base percentage for Herrera. This is most likely the last chance for owners to go out there and get him, where he's owned in 50% of fantasy leagues. And so far, Contreras, he's been off to a bad start and hitting 071, and that's why Herrera's getting opportunities. So today with a doubleheader, obviously we're going to see him in there for at least one of the games. And like I said, he's off to a great start. It's Herrera, especially with a 3 home run game April 2nd. So the last few games, March 31st versus the Angels, 0 for 3. April 1st versus the Angels, 0 for 1 with a run pinch hitting. April 2nd versus the Angels, 3 for 4, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs. And April 4th at the Red Sox, 1 for 5, a homer, 3 RBIs. So like I said, Contreras, he's struggling early on, even though obviously it's only the first week and change of the season. And I think Herrera, worst case, they're going to have to DH him at times if he's going to continue hitting the baseball and showing pop. So like I said, so far he's playing great. Right now, last chance for owners to go out there and get him, but also he could go the other way and struggle. But right now, where he's got 4 home runs in his last 2 games, is Herrera, someone who's on fire and someone to pick up off the wire this week. The next hitter, his teammate Victor Scott of the St. Louis Cardinals. Victor Scott, one of their top prospects in the system over the last couple seasons. Last year, he had a little bit of a taste of the major leagues, and he struggled. 2 homers, 10 RBIs, 14 runs scored, 5 stolen bases, a 179 average, and a 219 on base in 145 at-bats. And so far this season, much better. A homer, 5 RBIs, 5 runs scored, 4 stolen bases, a 308 average, and a 367 on base percentage for Victor Scott out there in only 55% of fantasy leagues. So he's got a lot of speed, great defensive outfielder, usually batting 8th in this lineup for this Cardinal team, where he's going to get some decent pitches to hit, where obviously opposing pitches, they're not going to pitch around or try to mix up a lot of pitches at the end of any major league lineup, especially with the universal DH over the last few seasons. March 31st versus the Angels, 2 for 3 in RBI. April 1st versus the Angels, 2 for 5, a run, an RBI, a stolen base. April 2nd versus the Angels, 1 for 3 with a run. And April 4th at the Red Sox, 0 for 3 with a run. So like I said, he's not going to hit home runs. He's not going to drive in a lot of runs as Victor Scott, but he's going to be a player that's going to steal bases. I think he could be a decent batting average player, score runs as well. Obviously at the bottom of the order with the top of the order driving him in. And I think Scott, he could be decent this year. And like I said, last year he got a taste of the major leagues. Obviously he struggled mightily, but now he's back and off to a good start in the early going, even though it's a small sample size. He's definitely a hitter I would go out there and give a shot to this week. The next hitter, Maikel Garcia of the Kansas City Royals. Garcia qualifies at second and third base. He's out there only even 57% of fantasy leagues. And if you need speed, obviously in runs scored, that's what Garcia is going to bring to owners. Even though so far he's hitting 320 in his first 25 at-bats on the year, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, 4 runs scored, a stolen base at 320 average, and a 370 on base for Miguel Garcia. So right now he's another guy batting at the bottom of the order for this Royal team, where obviously they want you speedy guys at times at the bottom of the order for the top to drive them in. March 31st at the Brewers, 1 for 3, a homer, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored. April 1st at the Brewers, 1 for 4. April 4th versus the Orioles, 2 for 4, run, 3 RBIs, a stolen base. And April 5th versus the O's, 0 for 4. So Garcia, I know he's off to a good start, but like I said, he's not going to be a high batting average type of player. If you're just looking for runs scored and stolen bases, that's what Garcia is going to bring. And right now it's good he's showing the average, but if you're just not concerned about average and you want the stolen bases, especially in category leagues where it can help in a big way taking that category weekly, where Garcia did steal 37 bases last season. That's what he's going to bring to owners and runs, but everything else, don't expect it from him, even though he's off to the hot start. Next hit is Spencer Torkelson of the Detroit Tigers. Torkelson, he's out there in 62% of fantasy leagues. He was on the list last week, and he's made it once again this week. And we know he's got legit power, Torkelson. We saw it a couple years ago, hitting over 30 home runs. And so far this season, he's changed his approach a little bit, and it's paying dividends for Torkelson in the early going. He had 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, 6 runs scored, a stolen base, a 345 average, and a 472 on base percentage. So last season, very down year where they optioned him back to the minors, with Torkelson at times with 10 homers, 37 RBIs. But like I said, he's changed his approach so far this season. The strikeout rate obviously is still up there, 12 strikeouts and 29 at-bats. But at least he's going out there and giving more professional at-bats, is Torkelson in the early going for this Tiger team. March 31st at the Mariners, 2 for 5, a run. April 1st at the Mariners, 1 for 4, an RBI. April 2nd at the Mariners, 0 for 4. April 4th versus the White Sox, 1 for 3, a run, an RBI. And April 5th versus the White Sox, 2 for 4, a homer, and an RBI in that one. So Torkelson batting third or fourth usually on most nights. This Detroit Tiger team, we know he's got pop. Showed it a couple seasons ago. He was a former top prospect in all Major League Baseball as well. And sometimes it takes some of these players growing pains to get through it and then get going. So like I said, Torkelson, the average is way up in the early going. I know it's a very small sample size, 29 at-bats on the season. Well, like I said, the power is definitely legit. We saw it a couple years ago. We've seen it in the minor leagues, and he's definitely a hitter for fantasy owners to go out there and get this week. The next hitter, Ben Rice of the New York Yankees. Anthony Rizzo, they didn't re-sign him in free agency. We know they signed Paul Goldschmidt, was this New York Yankee team. But Ben Rice, he's still pretty much getting everyday at-bats for this Yankee team, and he's playing good baseball. Last year, we saw some pop from him, including a 3 home run game, is Ben Rice. And now this year, he's off to a good start. Again, an everyday opportunity. On the year, 2 home runs, 2 RBIs, 8 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, a 320 average, and a 433 on base percentage in 25 at-bats. Obviously, he's in a great lineup with this New York Yankee team. We know they lost Juan Soto in free agency to crosstown rival the New York Mets, but they added some hitters, like I said, Paul Goldschmidt, Jazz Chisholm, they traded for last year at the MLB trade deadline, adding Cody Bellinger as well. And Ben Rice, he's hitting all over the place in the lineup. We saw him hit our 8th early in the year, and the last few games it's been 1st or 2nd for this Yankee team. April 1st versus the D-backs, 2 for 4, a homer and RBI. April 2nd versus Arizona, 0 for 3. April 3rd versus Arizona, 1 for 3, 2 runs, a stolen base. April 4th at the Pirates, 1 for 4, run. And April 5th at the Pirates, 1 for 5 with a run. So like I said, he's up there at the top of the order, especially versus right-handed pitching over the last few games, is Ben Rice. And he's a guy that's going to go out there, he's going to show some power, and he's going to get some good pitches to hit, obviously, with guys like Aaron Judge behind him in this lineup, Cody Bellinger, Giancarlo Stanton, when he eventually comes back to this lineup, even though that could be a problem for Rice. Obviously, where Stanton, he really can't play the field anymore in his career, and he would have to take that DH spot. But right now, Rice is playing good baseball, and this Yankee team's confident in him hitting. He's available right now still in 72% of fantasy leagues. Next hitter, Jung-Ho Lee of the San Francisco Giants. Jung-Ho Lee, he was a big signing for the Giants last offseason, and then obviously his season was cut short pretty quickly last year, where he only had 145 at-bats and had a bad injury. But so far this year, off to a good start. No home runs, 3 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 9 runs scored, a 321 average, and a 387 on base. Lee out there in tons of leagues at 73%. And if you need average and runs scored and stolen bases, that's what he's going to bring. In Japan, he wasn't much of a power hitter as well as Jung-Ho Lee. He's batting third in this lineup for this San Francisco Giant team. But like I said, at most you're going to get 15, 20 home runs, I believe. But someone could steal in that 20 to 30 stolen base range. Going to give you a good average, good professional at bat more times than not. And this Giant team, obviously the last couple off season, they missed out on some big free agents, but they still got some hitters in here. April 1st at Houston, 1 for 4. April 4th versus Seattle, 1 for 6, a run, an RBI, a stolen base. And April 5th versus Seattle, 3 for 4, 2 runs, a stolen base. So like I said, he's going to give you professional at-bats. He's going to have a good batting average, where I think he's more of a good categories type of player than a points league player, where just a lot of singles he hits, and obviously those singles don't amount to much in points leagues. I think Lee, he's going to help more in category leagues and roto leagues for fantasy owners, and he's out there in 73% of fantasy leagues. Next hit is his teammate Wilmer Flores of the San Francisco Giants. Wilmer Flores, he's on a power surge to start the year for this Giant team. And we know Flores, he's got 20, 25 home run pop. I know last year, very down year, 4 home runs, and he's already matched that this year in only 32 at-bats, 4 home runs, 11 RBIs, 5 runs scored, a 250 average, and a 294 on base. And the thing with Flores, he's never been a high strikeout guy throughout his major league career, and so far only 6 strikeouts in 32 at-bats. So Flores, he's always going to go out there. He's going to give you a good at-bat for the most part, and he's been batting mostly 7th in the lineup for this Giant team. But we know throughout his career, he's mashed left-handed pitcher. March 31st, Houston, 2 for 4, homer, 4 RBIs. April 1st, Houston, 0 for 3. April 2nd, Houston, 1 for 4, homer, 2 RBIs. April 4th versus the Mariners, 1 for 6 with a run. And April 5th versus the Mariners, 2 for 4 with an RBI. So like I said, Flores, he's not really going to strike out a lot. I know he's in a power surge where it's not going to hold up to pace. But like I said, last year he hit 4 home runs the entire season was Flores, even though I know he missed a lot of time with injury, but already 4 home runs on the year. But I still believe he could be 20, 22 home run guy, hitting the 250s, 260s, and in more 12-team leagues deeper, that could help owners as the year goes on. And Flores, he's out there still in tons of leagues at 88%. The next hitter, Jacob Wilson, the Athletics. Jacob Wilson, he was a top prospect in the system last year. Had a cup of coffee in the major leagues with the Athletics, 92 at-bats, hitting 250 last season. But so far this year, off to a hot start, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, 5 runs scored, 364 average, and a 364 on base. Obviously, he's not that patient at the plate. He's swinging early in the counts as Jacob Wilson, and so far in the early going, it's helped him, obviously, for this Athletic team where he's batting 6th to the 9th range. They've changed him up in the order, and he's available in 85% of leagues. March 30th at the Mariners, 1 for 4. March 31st versus the Cubs, 1 for 2, a homer, 2 RBIs. April 1st versus the Cubs, 1 for 3. April 2nd versus the Cubs, 3 for 4. April 4th at the Rockies, 2 for 5, a homer, 3 RBIs, 2 runs scored. And April 5th at the Rockies, 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs. So Wilson, he's going out there. He's playing good baseball in the early going. He's driving the baseball with the 2 homers, 7 RBIs in the early going. And like I said, he was the Athletics' top prospect in the system last year before he came up. And then obviously injuries did him in. But right now, obviously he's playing every day for this Athletic team. He's playing good baseball. And someone for fantasy owners to go out there and get this week, especially, like I said, he was a top prospect for a reason. And now it's showing in the early going of the year. And the final hitter I looked at is Jake Magnum of the Tampa Bay Rays, another player coming out of nowhere for Tampa Bay and off to a good start after last year. Fire sale at the deadline, and then in the offseason made some deals as well. So Magnum getting an everyday opportunity for this Rays team, and he's off to a great start on the year. No home runs, 4 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 3 runs scored, only 19 at-bats, but a 474 average and a 500 on-base percentage for Magnum. So like I said, Magnum, he's going out there. Most games he's getting everyday chances, except April 4th at Texas he didn't play, but he's got some multiple hit games already under his belt on the year. March 31st versus the Pirates, 4 for 4, run, 2 RBIs, 2 stolen bases. April 1st versus the Pirates, 3 for 4, 2 runs, 2 RBIs, a stolen base. April 2nd versus the Pirates, 1 for 4, and April 5th at the Rangers, 1 for 4. So Magnum, he's playing every day pretty much for this Tampa Bay Ray team. So far, 2 multiple hit games for him under his belt. He could steal some bases, drive in some runs, and he's batted all over the order. 2nd, fourth already this season, third, eighth. So he's going to battle all over for Tampa. And we know this Tampa team, unorthodox lineups they've had throughout the years. Players come out of nowhere, play good baseball, and I think Jake Magnum could be one of those next players coming out of nowhere. So far, right now, off to a great start, and he's available in 89% of fantasy leagues. That's a few hitters I look to add for week 2 of the fantasy baseball season.